Somewhere out in space, it rains glass, sideways, at over 5,000 miles an hour. A man once won an Olympic marathon by riding in a car. And a newspaper convinced a whole city that bat people lived on the moon. 6 true science and history stories that sound completely made up, but every single one. Number 1. The planet where it rains glass sideways. On one distant planet, it rains glass, sideways, in winds of 5,400 miles an hour. It's called HD 189, a giant blue world about 63 light-years away. From far off, it glows like a beautiful sapphire jewel. But that gorgeous blue isn't water or oceans. It comes from tiny bits of silicate, basically glass, floating high up in its scorching sky. The planet hugs its star incredibly close, so it's blisteringly hot, around 2,000 degrees. Hot enough to melt the glass right in its clouds. And the winds are monstrous. They scream around the planet at up to 5,400 miles an hour, about 7 times the speed of sound. So the molten glass never falls gently. It's blasted sideways in howling storms. A calm blue jewel from a distance, an absolute nightmare up close. Number 2. The marathon won by riding in a car. The man who first crossed the finish line at the 1904 Olympic Marathon had ridden most of the way there in a car. It was St. Louis, and the race was a disaster from the start. 32 runners set off in 90-degree heat, down dusty roads choked with cars. A runner named Fred Laws gave out after 9 miles. His manager drove him 11 more, until the car broke down, and Laws simply jogged to the finish. The crowd cheered him as champion. He nearly got the gold, until officials realized he'd been chauffeured, and banned him. He swore it was just a joke. The real winner, Thomas Hicks, was barely conscious. His trainers had fed him brandy, raw eggs, and tiny doses of a stimulant to keep his legs moving. He crossed the line woozy and swaying, held up by his handlers. Of 32 starters, only 14 finished. It's still the strangest marathon in Olympic history. Number 3. The animal that regrows its own brain. This little smiling creature can regrow its own legs, its spine, and even parts of its brain. It's the axolotl, a salamander from the lakes of Mexico, with feathery pink gills and a face that always looks like it's grinning. If it loses a leg, it doesn't just heal over with a scar. It grows a brand new one, bones, muscles, nerves and all, perfect, in just a few weeks. And it doesn't stop at legs. It can regrow its tail, its heart, even bits of its brain and spinal cord, with almost no scarring at all. Even stranger, it never really grows up. It keeps its baby features for its whole life, staying underwater instead of crawling onto land like other salamanders. Scientists study it hoping to learn how humans might one day heal like this. All of that, from a grinning little salamander the size of your hand. Number 4. The newspaper that put bat people on the moon. In 1835, a newspaper convinced a whole city that bat people were living on the moon. A New York paper called The Sun ran a series of articles claiming a famous astronomer had built the most powerful telescope ever made. Through it, they said, he could see the moon in stunning detail, and it was absolutely bursting with life. The reports described blue unicorns, beavers walking on 2 legs, and winged people gliding across the lunar sky, creatures they called Batmen. Readers ate it up. The paper's sales rocketed, and crowds gossiped about the amazing beings up above. Almost nobody suspected a thing. It was all invented, one of the biggest hoaxes ever printed. The real astronomer, far away in Africa, had no idea his name was selling moon unicorns. Number 5. How 1,000 birds move as one. Thousands of birds can swirl through the sky as one giant living shape, with no leader at all. It happens with starlings. At dusk, enormous flocks gather and pour across the sky in rippling, twisting clouds. It's called a murmuration. The whole flock turns and folds like a single creature, changing shape in a heartbeat. It looks impossible for so many birds to coordinate. But there's no boss bird giving orders. Each starling simply watches its closest neighbors, about 7 of them, and instantly matches their moves. That one simple rule, copied by thousands of birds at once, ripples outward in a flash, so the entire flock reacts as fast as a single body. And it's not just for show. Those swirling waves confuse hunting falcons, making it nearly impossible to pick off a single bird. Safety in stunning numbers. Number 6. The 50-year war fought with whiskey. Canada and Denmark fought a war for 50 years, using bottles of whiskey. Between them sits a tiny, empty rock in the Arctic called Hans Island, barely half a square mile, with no people and no trees. Both countries claimed it as their own. But instead of soldiers and battles, they came up with a much friendlier way to fight over it. A Canadian team would land, plant their flag, and leave a bottle of Canadian whiskey. Then the Danes would arrive, swap the flag, and leave a bottle of schnapps. Back and forth they went for decades, trading flags and drinks on a frozen rock that nobody even lived on. The friendliest war in all of history. Finally, in 2022, they simply agreed to split the island in half. And to celebrate the peace, they toasted, by trading bottles, one last time. 6 impossible-sounding stories, a planet raining sideways glass, a marathon won from the back seat of a car, a salamander that regrows its own brain, bat people in the newspaper, 1,000 birds moving as one, and a war fought with whiskey. Which one did you refuse to believe was real? And which surprised you the most? Tell me down in the comments. If you like this, follow for new science and history videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.